Welcome to Science Meets Adventure, exploring nature's secret. Today, we climb into the spine of South America, where cloud forests cling to knife-edge ridges, and a river cuts a horseshoe around a granite citadel. This is Machu Picchu, the Inca masterpiece, whose precision stonework fits so tightly you can't slip a blade of grass between the joints, a city engineered to ride out earthquakes on a living mountain. We'll read the landscape like a scientist, walk the terraces like a traveler, and listen for the heartbeat of a civilization that turned rock, water, and gravity into architecture. At first light, the Andes open like a book. From above, the Urubamba River draws a shining curve, and two summits frame a narrow saddle. Huayna Picchu to the north, Machu Picchu Mountain to the south. On that saddle, azul, the city appears. Terraces tiered like green steps, stairways cut from bedrock, roofs gone, but plans still legible. The scale is breathtaking, but the story starts deeper in the geology that made this place possible. These mountains rise where the Nazca Plate sinks beneath South America. That slow collision crumples the continent and feeds magma into the crust. Here, long before the Inca, molten rock cooled into a hard crystalline core, granite and related intrusives, scarred by fractures and faults that run like invisible scaffolding through the ridge. Over time, ice nibbled at the high peaks, rivers sawed into the valleys, and the ridge that would cradle Machu Picchu sharpened into a serrated spine. The stone is crucial, coarse-grained, tough, and fractured in planes that a skilled mason can read like grain in wood. The fractures gave the Inca quarries and seams. The strength gave them walls that could stand. Nature keeps working here. Moist air from the Amazon climbs west, cools, and drops its burden. That feeds a montane cloud forest where orchids hang like lanterns, polylepis trees twist their papery bark to the wind, and hummingbirds stitch the air with needle wings. Mist wets the stones and then lifts, leaving them silver, then gold. Freeze-thaw wedging worries cracks. Heavy summer rains test every drain. The Inca didn't fight these forces, they designed with them. Walk into the city and the first lesson is gravity management. The famous agricultural terraces are more than gardens. They're retaining walls and reservoirs of stability. Behind each stone face lies a sandwich of topsoil, sand, and coarse gravel that drinks rain and spreads weight. Water percolates downwards into a network of subsurface drains and channels that bleed the mountain slowly instead of letting it slump in a single wet season. On steep slopes, terraces step the hillside, reducing the energy of falling water and anchoring the ridge against landslides. The second lesson is seismic intelligence. This is earthquake country. Instead of mortar, the Inca used dry stone construction, precisely fitted blocks that can move microscopically and settle back after a shock. Many elite buildings use ashlar, faces dressed flat, edges beveled, corners locked with interlocking keystones that bite into their neighbors. Doors and windows are trapezoidal, wider at the bottom and tapering up, with a slight inward batter to the walls. Lintels bridge openings with massive single stones or tight packings of smaller blocks, and corners are often tied with long stones that pass deep into the wall. In a tremor, energy travels along joints and dissipates. The building flexes and survives. The rougher fieldstone in outer sectors still follows the logic. Good faces to the weather, harding stones packed tight, no long continuous vertical seams to shear. The third lesson is hydraulic grace. A captured mountain spring above the city feeds a stairway of fountains that drop, pool, and spill in sequence, distributing clean water to ritual and domestic spaces. Channels are cut with smooth transitions to avoid turbulent erosion. Overflow is led away to protect foundations. Roofs, once thatched, would have shed heavy rains onto stone gutters and then into the terrace soils. Everything has a path. Everything returns to the river gently. Climb toward the sacred core, and you enter rooms that float between function and symbol. The Temple of the Sun curves around a boulder of living rock like a hug, its window placements catching the June solstice sunrise. The Intihuatana, the hitching post of the sun, is a carved outcrop whose angles echo the surrounding peaks and sky events. Whether these stones precisely tracked celestial cycles or staged the turning year is still debated, but their craft is undeniable. Surfaces planed true, corners crisp, stones laid to bite light and shadow with intention. From the guardhouse, look out over the central plaza and the sweep of agricultural terraces, then pivot to the industrial quarter, where quarries lie in plain sight, half-split blocks still tethered to bedrock. You can see how masons exploited natural fractures, how they pecked and polished faces with hammerstones, how bosses, raised nubs, helped maneuver blocks before final dressing. The city wears its making on its sleeves. But Machu Picchu is not just stone. It is also ecology in motion. Early mornings bring Andean cock-of-the-rock displays in the ravines. With patience, you might spot a vizcache poised on a wall like a stone come to life. In the wet season, orchids unfurl improbable lips along drip lines. In the dry, swift scissor the heat. The Inca braided this biodiversity into terrace crops, maize, tubers, quinoa, and into ritual, honoring Apus, the mountain spirits, and Pachamama, the living earth. Now let's turn traveler. Most visitors journey from Cusco down the Sacred Valley to Ollantaytambo, then board a train following the river to Machu Picchu Pueblo, Aguas Calientes. From there, buses switch back up to the entrance. Entry is by timed ticket and routed along designated circuits to protect the site. Plan ahead, carry your passport, and choose a circuit that matches your interests and pace. If you want to climb Huayna Picchu or Machu Picchu Mountain, permits are limited and the trails are steep. Book early and respect weather. If your heart leans to footsteps, consider the Inca Trail, a multi-day trek along original paving stones over high passes and cloud forests, entering through the Sun Gate at dawn, or the wilder Salkantay and Lares routes, which braid snow peaks and Quechua villages into the journey. Camping is not allowed within the citadel itself, but these treks offer designated campsites with views that humble words. Nights burn with stars. Mornings uncurl from frost and cloud. A day in the sanctuary moves best in layers. Start early while mists lift and crowds are thin. Trace a terrace edge and look down to the river's glitter. Climb a stair whose steps vary in rise to match your stride uphill. Pause by a fountain and listen to water say what stone can't. Keep to paths, don't touch the masonry, and tread quietly. The stones are doing their slow work and deserve yours. Beyond the ruins, culture flavors the journey. Back in Machu Picchu Pueblo, sip mate de coca for altitude and try trucha, river trout, grilled and dusted with herbs. In the valley, explore markets stacked with quinoa, chuño, freeze-dried potatoes, and aji amarillo peppers, colors that look borrowed from a bird's wing. For a deeper dive, visit Ollantaytambo's living Inca town plan, Moray's concentric agricultural terraces, a laboratory of microclimates, and the Salineras de Maras, where salt pans catch sun like 1,000 mirrors step down a canyon. Each site teaches a piece of the same lesson, landscape and engineering intertwined. Weather draws the calendar. The dry season, roughly May to September, brings clear mornings, chilly nights, and the hard blue light photographers love. The wet season, October to April, paints the mountains a deeper green and sweeps mists through the city like stage curtains, trading sun for atmosphere. At 2,430 meters, Machu Picchu sits below Cusco's height, but still high enough that acclimatization helps. Sleep a night or two in the Sacred Valley if you can. Pack layers, a rain shell even in the dry months, sun protection for the high UV, and shoes that trust wet stone. If you're filming, remember you are sharing a living heritage. Keep gear minimal, respect tripod and drone restrictions, and let the site breathe. The best shots often happen between glances. A condor silhouette brushed across a terrace, a hand tracing air above a perfect joint, not touching but measuring. A cloud rolling its shadow across the temple of the three windows. Use a map graphic to place the city within the Urubamba's bend, and then cut to macro textures, lichen constellations, tool marks, a droplet trembling on orchid flesh, so viewers feel both the sweep and the weave. As afternoon leans gold, the engineering reveals itself again. Stand below a wall and note its batter, that small inward lean that steadies it. Look for through-stones at corners, tying faces together like clasped hands. Watch rain channel discreetly to stone drains instead of scouring paths. Remember that beneath your feet, a hidden city of drainage and retaining layers is working. Gravel catching, sand filtering, soil holding roots and water. In a world that often builds fast and forgets maintenance, Machu Picchu whispers a counter-creed. Build with the mountain, not against it. Night comes early to the canyon. If you're on a trek, campfires crackle in sanctioned sites, and the Milky Way draws a bright river above the dark one below. In town, steam rises from plates, voices knit languages. Everywhere, granite holds its quiet line. The city endures, not because it refused movement, but because it allowed it in measured ways. Stones that flexed and settled, drains that yielded a path to water, terraces that stepped with the slope. In a major quake, many modern buildings shatter where Inca walls shrug. What finally moves you at Machu Picchu may not be any single vista or fact, but the way pieces cohere. Geology giving grain, climate giving rhythm, biology giving color, engineering giving form, and culture giving meaning. The Inca stitched all of that into a place that feels inevitable once you see it, as if the mountain had been waiting for the city to reveal itself. You leave with sore calves and a new respect for rock. If this journey lit a spark, if these stones made you listen harder to wind, water, and ground, join us again at Science Meets Adventure, exploring nature's secret. We'll keep walking the line where science and wonder meet. Like, share, và subscribe. Để cùng khám phá những bí ẩn thiên nhiên kỳ thú. Until next time, travel curious, tread lightly, and let the mountain teach.